neighborhoods that uplift. That's what we need. Workplaces that listen, and systems with a focus on equity and empathy. Man, empathy is a big deal. I used to struggle. Two things I used to struggle with was sympathy and empathy when I got clean. Oh, because you didn't live my life. You don't know how hard I had it. Sexual abuse, father that was physically abusive, alcoholic, mother that was a manic depressive, mother that told me that she wished she would have had 4 girls instead of 3 girls and a boy, because I was so much trouble. And I've talked to my mom about that, and my mom and I have a fantastic relationship today, and she's apologized over and over. And when she found out about the sexual abuse that happened to me in Father Jamal School for Boys, she was so regretful that she had me sent there. And I said, it's not your fault, Mom. You were a single mom. I don't get out the blame thrower and just go scorched earth on everything. I don't blame anybody. I can't. I have to take ownership for my life. And some of the stuff who I was, granted it goes back to 3, that first traumatic event that happened that caused the unsettling in me, that probably created me from the either fight, flight, or fright. And maybe it was the fright that caused the fight for me to flight. And it was hard. I ran away from home so many times, it was crazy. And then I said, it was funny, we were talking about a second ago about the ketamine treatment and all that stuff, and I'm going to tell you a very interesting story. That my wife was a substance abuse and mental health counselor and case manager for years. And that's why she's so proud of me, because I can go and do stuff like this, and I've helped many men. But in 2013, we both experienced an ayahuasca journey. And if you're not familiar with ayahuasca, anybody here familiar with ayahuasca? A couple handfuls. Obviously people are familiar with ketamine. So ayahuasca is DMT. And it comes from the vine of the soul, as they call it in Peru, vine of the ayahuasca and the chacruna leaves of the Amazon jungle. It's boiled in a pot by the indigenous people down there, and shamans, in a ceremony, offer you a shot glass of it, and then you go on about a 4.5-hour journey, right? And it's like 10 years of psychotherapy in a 4-hour session. It's like download. It's crazy. And I'll give you a quick little example, and I'll kind of wrap this up, because we'll have some Q&A, and we'll have some good stuff on there. So during this ayahuasca ceremony, my wife had thought the last words she said to her mother before her mother was killed by a drunk driver was, "I hate you." And she lived with that trauma for 29 years. What happened was that she went on this ayahuasca journey and took this ayahuasca, and she took her back 2 days before her mother was killed by the drunk driver. And my wife came home from school. She was a little girl, 13 years old. And she said, "Mama," she said, "hey, can I go over to Penny's for the weekend and spend the night?" And her mom said, "Absolutely not." And they got in a big argument. She said, "I hate you," and ran upstairs, and she relived that whole day, right? Because the brain compartmentalizes. She relives that whole day. So she's reliving the day after that was blocked out. Totally gone. She relives the next day. She's walking home from school, and the neighbor lady had come out, and she said, "Hey, Shauna, would you be willing to babysit for New Year's Eve?" It was the winter time. They were living in Chicago at the time. And she said, "I'll have to ask my mom." And she goes in to ask her mom, and her mom said, "Of course you can, honey. Sure, yeah, you can help, baby." And she hopped on her mom's lap, and she said, "I love you." And I walked in on my wife while she was going through this, and she was tears streaming down her face. And she finally got closure. And for 29 years, her last words to her mother wasn't, "I hate you." They were, "I love you." And so when I see these ketamine therapy treatments that are going on now, and psychedelics, there's people microdosing all over the world, it's interesting. I think people are looking to wake up. They're looking, adults are. I don't suggest it for kids, all right? Let's not get the wrong idea here. This is for adults with trauma. I think I'm a big purporter of the ketamine therapies. I think that alternative therapies, other than giving Xanax and pills and stuff like that, let's find new resources to open the mind and to open the heart and to empower the human being through other resources. And if that means low doses of psychedelic treatments or whatnot, that's fantastic. God bless anybody who has gone through that and is recovering from their trauma that way. Whatever it takes. Get in where you fit in. You might have heard that somewhere. You know, that's how I wound up in Narcotics Anonymous instead of Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I like to drink. I love cocaine more. You know, yeah, I can relate to the drug addicts because, you know, you smoke crack, my story goes, I get it. All right, cool. You know, so, you know, we get there, we know things, you know. Basically, I'm going to leave you with this. This is the close for me, is that, you know, it's our call to action at this point now. We're living in a technological gastronome, if you can believe it. You see what's going on. And now AI is just, God knows, they'll have people, they'll have robots babysitting your kids in no time. This is my play friend, Stevie659431. Can I get one of those for Christmas, Mom? He projects movies out of his eyes onto the TV. You know, I mean, it's just going to be wild. What's going to happen? Well, how do we reach the kids, the families, the educators, business, the owners, etc.? It's definitely not the newspaper. You get anybody here getting the newspaper still delivered? One guy, one brow, right. Good for you, keeping the paper business alive. Those guys are thanking you. Every $2.50. Everybody's moving digitally. We have to think bigger. We have to think bigger. We have to move along with the way the world's moving. You know, it's come a long way since Jesus was here. You know, we've all clicked on the Facebook reel or the ad or other products we've seen on social media. Who's clicked on the Facebook ad? Anybody in here? Nobody wants to be honest, huh? All right. Wow. All right. Just by the laughter, I know everybody's at least clicked it once. And what happens after you click on that one ad? Come on. 3 hours worth of the same different product, but to 25 different companies. It happens every time. You know, oh, look at that, ice cream sundaes. And you click on ice cream sundae, and all of a sudden there's Friendlies, there's 30 or 31 flavors, and all of a sudden every ice cream shop in a 20-mile radius shows up on your thing. I clicked on a forestry one the other day. I got Bigfoot Forestry. They're coming in to do all this brush hogging in my backyard. Every ad I see on Facebook between my friends' posts are forestry this, and hey, brush hog that, and we're gonna mulch, and here's these new tools and equipment for your yard. I mean, it's bananas. So the reason I say that is because how many people in here have had experience, and obviously a whole bunch of us. Let me ask you this question though. How many people in here have a podcast or are doing any kind of podcasting? Okay. See where I'm going with this? Anybody see where I'm going with this? Billboards are dead. That's a terrible marketing tool. Yeah. Do you experience trauma on the sidewalk? What was the number? I missed it. You know? You're not gonna, hey, what was that name of that medication? I missed it. You know, you're driving right past stuff. We're going 100 miles an hour. Driving on 90. The only way you're gonna get to see that billboard is if you're stuck at the Occuquan. You know, you're stuck in DC traffic at, 5 o'clock in the evening. But the reason I say this is that nobody's watching local TV news anymore, hardly ever. You know, it's because you can get your news on your phone. And if you're watching anything, you're watching the big stuff. You're watching Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the latest Trump, the latest Biden. You know, the latest divide. You know, how can we divide them today? Let's find a new way. You know, they're conspiring constantly. But anyway, what I was talking about is we're an a la carte society. Hungry for what we want, on demand, and when we want it. We have to create and dial into the future. The Facebook, the Snapchat, the Instagram, the TikTok, and the YouTube market. It's going to be where you find the like-minded villagers and those individuals who need healing. I'm Michael English. Thank you so much for having me.